Welcome back to AI Search Explained by Rank4AI. I'm Adam Parker, and I'm here with my co-founder, Jimmy Connoley. Today, we're tackling one of the most common questions we get from UK business owners. How much should I actually budget for AI search optimization? It's a question that keeps coming up in our client calls, and honestly, the answer isn't as straightforward as traditional SEO budgeting.
Right, and that's because we're dealing with something completely different here. When someone asks about SEO budgets, we've got decades of data to work with. With AI search optimization, we're essentially asking businesses to invest in systems that didn't exist 2 years ago. The challenge is that these systems, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Google's AI overviews, they're already changing how people find businesses.
Exactly. Through our research into how these AI systems interpret and recommend businesses, what we found is that the cost structure is fundamentally different. Traditional SEO might cost you £2,000 to £10,000 per month, depending on your market, but AI optimization requires a different approach entirely. Let's be practical about this, though. Most UK businesses I speak to are already stretched thin on their marketing budgets. They're asking, is this actually necessary right now, or is this something I can put off for another year? That's the critical question. And from the audits we've been running across ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, and the others, I can tell you that businesses are already losing opportunities. We recently audited a London-based consultancy, and when we searched for their services across these platforms, competitors were appearing instead. Not because the competitors were better, but because they understood how AI systems interpret business relevance. So what does that actually cost to fix? Because that's what business owners need to know. They need numbers they can put in front of their accountant or board. From what we've seen working with businesses across different sectors, you're looking at 3 main investment areas. First, there's the audit and strategy phase, understanding where you currently stand across all these AI systems. That typically runs £3,000 to £8,000 depending on business complexity. And that's not optional, is it? You can't optimize for something if you don't know where you're starting from. But then what comes after the audit? That's where the real costs start to add up. The second phase is implementation, actually optimizing your digital presence for AI interpretation. This isn't just about keywords anymore. When I'm researching how Claude or Gemini processes business information, they're looking at context, authority signals, and recommendation patterns that traditional SEO never had to consider. Right, but let's break that down into something concrete. What are we talking about in terms of monthly investment for a typical UK business? For most businesses, we're seeing effective AI search optimization running between £4,000 and £15,000 per month. That covers the ongoing optimization work, monitoring across all the major AI platforms, and adapting to how these systems evolve. That's a significant jump from traditional SEO budgets. How do you justify that to a business owner who's been paying £3,000 a month for SEO and seeing decent results? The justification comes from understanding the shift that's already happening. Traditional search is becoming one channel among many. When someone asks ChatGPT for a recommendation, or when Google's AI overviews start dominating search results, your traditional SEO investment becomes less effective. But here's what I'm hearing from business owners. They want to know if they can start smaller. Not everyone can jump straight into a £15,000 monthly commitment, especially when they're not sure what the ROI looks like yet. That's fair, and it's why we've been developing different entry points. You can start with what we call foundation-level AI optimization for around £2,500 to £4,000 per month. This covers the essential optimizations for ChatGPT and Google AI overviews, which are handling the majority of AI-driven searches right now. That sounds more realistic for most businesses, but what does that actually include? Business owners need to know what they're getting for that investment. Foundation level covers your core business information optimization, basic authority building for AI systems, and monthly monitoring across the primary platforms. It's not comprehensive, but it ensures you're not completely invisible when people search for your services through AI. And presumably that's where most businesses should start. Test the waters before committing to the full program. In most cases, yes. What we've learned from our client work is that businesses need to see the impact firsthand. Once they start appearing in ChatGPT recommendations or getting mentioned in Perplexity searches, they understand why this matters. Then scaling up the investment makes sense. Let's talk about the third phase you mentioned. What comes after implementation? The third phase is ongoing optimization and expansion. This is where you start targeting the full ecosystem. Copilot, Claude, the newer platforms that emerge. You're also getting into more sophisticated strategies around how these systems understand your industry expertise and business relationships. And I assume that's where cost can really escalate, because you're not just optimizing for current systems, you're trying to future-proof against whatever comes next. Exactly. Full ecosystem optimization can run £10,000 to £25,000 per month. but that's typically for businesses where AI search represents a significant revenue channel. Professional services firms, B2B companies with long sales cycles, businesses where recommendation and discovery drive major client relationships.
So we're talking about very different budget requirements depending on your business model. A local restaurant probably doesn't need the same level of investment as a management consultancy competing nationally.
Right, and that's something we've had to learn through direct experience. When we started doing this work, we assumed one approach would fit most businesses, but the AI systems themselves interpret different business types completely differently.
Which brings up another practical question. How do you measure whether this investment is working? With traditional SEO, you can track rankings, organic traffic, conversions. What metrics matter for AI search optimization?
This is still evolving, but we track mention frequency across AI platforms, recommendation quality, and what we call context positioning, whether you're being recommended in the right context for your target customers. We also track traditional metrics where AI-driven traffic can be identified.
But that's harder to measure than traditional SEO metrics, isn't it? Which makes it harder to justify the budget internally.
It is more complex, which is why we recommend starting with businesses that are already forward-thinking about their digital strategy, early adopters who understand that not everything can be measured with the same precision as Google Analytics.
Let's bring this back to practical budgeting advice. If I'm a UK business owner listening to this, trying to figure out what I should actually allocate for 2024, what's your recommendation?
Start by allocating 10 to 15% of your current digital marketing budget to AI search optimization. For most businesses, that creates room to begin without cannibalizing existing programs that are working. So if you're spending £10,000 a month on digital marketing, you're looking at £1,000 to £1,500 for AI optimization. That seems more manageable as a starting point. It's manageable, but it's also limited in what you can achieve. At that level, you're really just ensuring basic visibility. To be competitive, especially in B2B sectors, you need to think about this as a more significant investment. Which raises the question, what happens if businesses wait? Is this something that becomes more expensive the longer you delay? From what we're seeing, yes. The businesses that start optimizing now are building authority within these AI systems. Later entrants have to work harder to establish that same level of recognition. It's similar to how early SEO adopters had advantages that became harder to replicate over time. But there's also the risk of investing heavily in something that's still evolving rapidly. These AI systems change their algorithms, add new features, sometimes completely shift how they work. That's the challenge, and it's why ongoing optimization is so important. Unlike traditional SEO, where you might see stable results for months, AI optimization requires constant adaptation. Your budget needs to account for that reality.
So when business owners ask about ROI timelines, what should they expect? Traditional SEO might show results in 6 to 12 months. Is AI optimization faster or slower? It's generally faster for initial visibility. You might see your business appearing in AI recommendations within 2 to 3 months, but meaningful business impact takes longer because people are still learning to use these systems for business decisions. That's an important point. We're not just optimizing for current user behavior, we're optimizing for behavior that's still developing.
Exactly. Which is why I recommend businesses think about this as a 2-3 year investment strategy, not a quick win. Budget accordingly, but start building your presence now.
Let's talk about different business sizes. Clearly, a Fortune 500 company has different budget realities than a local business. How should smaller businesses approach this?
Smaller businesses actually have some advantages here. AI systems often prioritize relevance and specificity over raw authority. A local expert who optimizes properly can outperform larger competitors in AI recommendations.
So the budget requirements might be lower for smaller businesses, but the potential impact could be higher.
In many cases, yes. We've seen local businesses achieve significant visibility improvements with £2,000, £3,000 monthly budgets because they're not competing against the same level of investment that larger companies are making.
That's encouraging. But what about businesses that are already working with traditional SEO agencies? Should they expect their current provider to handle AI optimization, or is this a separate specialization?
Most traditional SEO agencies are still learning this space. The skill sets overlap, but the execution is different enough that you need specialists who understand AI system behavior specifically.
Which means additional budget allocation, not just shifting existing SEO spend.
In most cases, yes. Though some businesses are reducing traditional SEO investment to make room for AI optimization, especially if they're seeing declining returns from organic search.
Before we wrap up, let's address the elephant in the room. Some business owners are thinking this might be a passing trend, that AI search won't really replace traditional methods.
The usage data suggests otherwise. ChatGPT has over 100 million weekly active users, and that's just one platform. Google's AI overviews are appearing in more search results every month.
This isn't experimental anymore. It's becoming mainstream. So the question isn't whether to invest, it's how much and how quickly. That's how I see it. The businesses that are budgeting for this now will have significant advantages over those that wait another year or two. Final practical question. Should businesses handle this internally or externally? Does that affect the budget calculation? Unless you have dedicated resources who can stay current with all these AI platforms, external specialists are more cost-effective. The learning curve is steep, and the platforms evolve too quickly for part-time attention. Which brings us back to those monthly retainer figures we discussed earlier, £4,000 to £15,000 for most businesses, depending on scope and competitiveness. Right. And for businesses that want to explore this further, we have detailed budget planning resources available at rank4ai.co.uk. You can see how different investment levels translate into specific deliverables. That's helpful because every business situation is different. There's no one-size-fits-all answer to AI search budgeting. Exactly. To summarize today's discussion, start by allocating 10–15% of your digital marketing budget to AI search optimization. Expect monthly investments between £2,500 and £15,000 depending on your business size and competitive situation. And think of this as a 2–3 year strategic investment rather than a short-term tactic. The businesses that start budgeting for this now are positioning themselves for significant advantages as AI search becomes the dominant way people discover and evaluate businesses. Thanks for listening to AI Search Explained. If you want specific budget recommendations for your business, visit rank4ai.co.uk to learn more about our audit and strategy services.
We'll be back next week with another episode. Until then, start planning your AI search investment. Your future self will thank you.